Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Good enough, right? Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain. State of a current affair host, number one, Vicky Esther Chang from Singapore. Go look on your round globe or on a flat map and Google and figure out where Singapore is. It's right up there with Dubai, which is a very wealthy and influential country. And I am from Reading, the infamous Reading Railroad on Monopoly, Pennsylvania, Lillian Caldwell. And today we are going to have our last chance to talk about the upcoming, and today is voting day, so go to the polls and vote. Vote for the presidential candidate, but vote. And polls begin at 7 a.m. and they're usually open till 8 p.m. But if you're not sure, call your local Democratic Republican Party and they'll be more than happy to help you, point you in the right direction. A lot of the sites are posted on Google, so look it up. Even ask AI, because it'll probably be able to tell you just as effectively as any live person. Oh, wait, machines are live, aren't they? Okay. They even now have them playing in the symphony just as well as everybody else, which is dexterous. Yes. So let me introduce to you Vicky Esther Chang, and she will start off. Good morning or good evening.
Hi, Lillian. It is 10:11 p.m. Singapore time on a Tuesday evening. It is the 5th of November. And what a time. 5th of November, that's the election day in America, and all eyes are trained on America, what's going to happen to the world. Whatever happens in America, the rest of the world is going to be shaken. It's
Yep.
almost like a pending earthquake. So whichever way it goes, it's still going to be an earthquake. So Lillian, and because it's such a big day, tonight midnight, I read that um, you're going to start counting the votes over there, and the battleground is in Pennsylvania. Am I right? Because I'm looking at
Yes.
the YouTube. The Instagram, it's such a big deal because you've got the presidential candidates and the surrogates speaking um, in Pennsylvania yesterday, right?
Yes.
And that's the last round of speech they can make. And today is the election day. People queuing up. So I just want a quick question: Are people queuing up at the ballot before the ballot boxes now?
Well, they've count. There are a lot of. I voted by mail. So
Yeah,
the day I received my ballot, I filled it out and sent it back all that same day. So I know it
yeah,
got in there ahead of time. There have
yeah.
been a lot of different stories going on. And of course, one of the presidential candidates has done their very best to leak a lot of misinformation out there.
Mm,
So it's very difficult to tell what is truth and what isn't truth. However, I want to interject this. If you want to make $1 million, immediately fly to Pennsylvania and let Elon Musk know, because he will
wow.
pay you $1 million to vote for the candidate of his choice.
Yeah.
So if you're just out to make money, go to the sugar daddy Republican Party, and they'll be more than happy to pay you to vote for the candidate of their choice, knowing, curse word here, damn well, you can uncover your ears now, that he is not the most logical choice to run the country in terms of health and in terms of mental health.
Yeah.
And they're
So
figuring it's going to take them to Saturday to count the
wow.
votes. And according to the Republican candidate, he wins no matter what. As far as he's concerned, he's been chosen by God, as were the kings of France, Spain, Portugal, all those other places that still have royalty, except for Russia, of course, because they assassinated theirs back in the 20th century. although they do have the equivalent of royalty in their leaders. Whoops, did I say that? I'm sorry, Mr. Putin. Yes.
So the fever, it's
The
like
fever's really bad. I mean, I've spoken to a
Yeah.
lot of people who are going to get to the polls when the doors open. Yeah, the problem is everybody and their cousin are going to be there when their doors open. They're telling people not to go out unless they're voting. They should be safe
Wow.
enough. But
You don't
who is
know.
it?
Will people be holding guns while they vote? I mean, the
Well, they're
country's
allowed to bring guns apparently in with them to the voting booths, which I find in a free society that should not be happening. But they do have the reserve soldiers on alert.
the National Guards.
National Guard, thank you. Couldn't think of that. They have the National Guard on alert to go out, and if they must, they have a part of the army or the military card, the federal
It's getting
army
ready. It's getting
standing
ready.
ready because they're expecting problems. And for those who are interested, in 2 weeks' time, unless we forget historical, I'm doing a section on the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And if you don't know what that amendment is, I suggest you get your furry little fingers over to Google or go over to an AI program and ask, what is the 14th Amendment and how does it affect the presidential election on November 5th? And I'll be discussing that. So to bring you awareness as to what's going on politically and also in terms of the law, which I know is a very bad word in most countries because the law is usually in the eyes of the person who's enforcing it.
Yeah. So Lillian, I really appreciate that. My eyes are trained on looking at the YouTube or the social media and also some of the live news on YouTube that is reporting. But it's really getting so heated and depends on how you frame a situation. Now both sides seems to be right. So I'm just going to like look at it and then, but I think the truth will reveal itself when they are whomever is in the office, and we'll look at the actions, not what they say. It's always about how you walk the talk.
It's how you walk the talk, and I
Yeah.
think both of them need to have cold water dumped all over them. I think that if you take a little bit of what he said and a little bit what she said and meld it together, you may have a pretty decent president. But
Yeah.
that's not going to happen.
So, okay, and today to start off, thank you everyone for being here. And because this is state of current affairs, and if you are tuning in for the first time, I am Vicky Esther Chang, and this is the power of the technology that we have on our hands that is democratized. I am here in Singapore, and Lillian is there in Pennsylvania, USA, and the rest of the world can tune in. And the rest of the world can write to us through comments or emails to Lillian. We'll be happy to hear you out. And you can write to us as an anonymous writer, or you can dial in the number below or leave a message as an anonymous caller. So thank you so much, Lillian. To start off, we're going to talk about two things here specifically, but two things do kind of flow to one another. I'd like to talk about my country, Singapore, because we're really talking about national spirit right now, nationalism. In a good way. I mean, nationalism has been given a very bad connotation, but I think if you love your country and you want to do good things for your country to build your country up, I think it's good. Right, I think it's good. Okay, right. I am going to talk about some articles about Singapore. And really because the beauty of this show, State of Current Affairs, I bring in two or more news articles that are current, which talks about what is happening around us currently. And then the beauty of it is Lillian can put the backdrop of history to it. And I think that's beautiful. So while we have currency and we also have historical background. So then you can juxtapose where we are. So I love that. And also, we are mindful that even though Lillian and myself, we may have differences, we are so respectful of accepting the differences in ideas and opinions. Again, it's all about humanity. We have to live with each other. And I think the only way to live uh, with each other is in harmony. So today, again, I'm so thankful to the listeners and the audience for tuning in now or later, playback and share, subscribe, and follow and write to us. Give us your opinion. Tell us what you think and tell us what you want us to talk about more. And I'm thankful for the audience and listeners. And I am mindful that I am talking directly to the world, and that's you out there. Right. I like to share this first link with everyone about Singapore, and that's the National Heritage Board of Singapore, and you can find it at um, nhb.gov.sg, nhb.gov.sg, and that's the National Heritage Board of Singapore. Um, and it's going to be at the link where the resources are. I'd like to share with everyone something I thought it's apt in today's very heated election climate. And that's the tenet where Singapore is built on, and we call that our pledge. And we say our pledge almost every day in school. When you go to school in America, they call it elementary school. In Singapore, we call it primary school, because Singapore, we adopt the British system. We adopt the British system of education. We adopt the British common law, and we adopt the British parliamentary political system here in Singapore, and most of the other laws. Um, it is because we were a colony of the British Empire back in those days. But I'm not going to talk about history. I'm really going to talk about what is relevant to us today. Our pledge: we, the citizens of Singapore, pledge ourselves as one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion, to build a democratic society based on justice and equality, so as to achieve happiness, prosperity, and progress for our nation. And we pledge that, um, we say our pledge as a student all the way to high school. Of course, in high school in Singapore, we call it the secondary school up to the age of 16. Almost every day. Some schools are once a week, but we pledge that. It's really ingrained in our psyche. I would call it not so much brainwashing, but I would call it the tenets of a country. Um, and I think some of the things that stood out, it's so relevant that in this election that we look at the social media, that what's polarizing the world and what's polarizing America. I want to talk about Singapore as an independent foreigner to um, the viewers here, wherever you are in your own country. So I'm a foreigner to your country. I think I like the fact that we pledge as one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion, and to build a democratic society based on justice, the law, and equality. And main thing is to achieve happiness, prosperity, and progress. And I think this is so important. And to explain the spirit of the tenants, how it operates on a daily basis in the lives of mainstream people and people in general, to the international audience and to American audience and listeners who are listening in. A very, very, very quick example that I can um, illustrate: myself, a Christian. I'm a Baptist Christian, but my best friend is a Muslim girl. My dad is cremated in a Buddhist temple. My brother is a converted Christian. I'm the first converted Christian in my family. My mom was a converted Christian 2 years before she went home to the Lord. My sister, like I said, is a Buddhist. My neighbors are Buddhists and Hindus. I've got great friends who are Indian Hindus. My best friends in France and Singapore, they are Indian Hindus, plus a different kind of a different spectrum of faiths. So I just want to illustrate or just show a highlight that for people who have not been to certain parts of the world, like in Singapore, how this kind of society or country operates. Number one, we are not allowed under the law to have our faith or religion infiltrated by political influences or forces. So you have to only preach, whether you're a Buddhist temple. Mind you, I'm born in a Buddhist home, and the rest of my cousins, except for another family who's Christian and a Christian preacher, the rest of my extended family, there are Buddhists or Taoists. Um, yeah. Um, so, and of course, in Buddhism, there are different strata of Buddhism, different spectrum of Buddhism. In Hinduism, there are different types. In Muslim world, there are different spectrum. In Christianity, there are different spectrum too. And I would like to say that my best American friends that I know over in the podcast will like Jamel Thomas, they are the democratic Christians. I don't, I mean, there are different kinds of Christians. I can't even explain, but my basic word and conclusion that I would like to really point out is that you respect me, I respect you. That is the basis of human existence. I mean, we respect our neighbors. And how do we respect our neighbors? It doesn't start with spitting onto our neighbors' homes, spewing bad words and spewing words of violence. For example, because it's so heated in America, I just want to share with you. In Singapore, we have laws that we cannot bring in political influences in the church, in the Buddhist temple, da 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 da. You're not allowed to do that, and you're not allowed to talk about religion or faith in schools, in public organizations, and of course in certain private organizations. It is natural that they adopt the culture of not speaking about faith and religion in a public setting. And if you do, there must be a lot of respect, even though there is freedom of speech, but we always exercise respect. So, freedom of speech really means respect, listening and understanding what is sensitive to the other person that is our neighbor, and not to disparage or hurt. I think the basic principle is not to hurt, hate, or harm anybody with our words, not even in commentaries on the social media. We are really, really careful. For example, my neighbors are Buddhists. They hold the joss sticks out. My mom used to be a Buddhist. She holds the joss sticks. And I never liked that smell of the joss sticks, but I respected that. Um, my mom, I invite her to the church. She visited the church for many years because I was trying to tell her my faith, explain to her my faith, and hopefully she respected my faith, and I respected her too because I used to grow up in a very Buddhist environment, and my dad is cremated in a Buddhist temple, and I still do go there with flowers, not with the joss sticks, but with the flowers to show my respects, and go there and kind of like just have a little bit of memory time with my dad. Ashes, even though as a Christian, I know that he's somewhere outside of that bones and that ashes already. My best friend, a Muslim girl, I mean, we talk about investments, we talk about money, we share about differences of faith, we talk about, hey, some of the things that we are careful to tread and not to tread. But even if we meet differences, we always respected each other's opinion. And I think you have to exercise that like in a gym. You exercise your muscles in a gym. You did not have your abs, you did not have your quadriceps, whatever biceps you've got, but you can exercise that in your mind and your brain with restraint, with love, with understanding and sensitivity. My neighbors are Buddhists, and they just live like 2 meters away from me, the door, because we live in high-rise apartments. It doesn't hurt me to say hello to her, or say hello to myself, and the other neighbors are Indian Hindus, and there are a different spectrum. Even in India, there are over 100 religion in India itself. So my explanation for the tenant is just to share with everyone. It is possible to respect and still live in harmony in deep differences. If you do not raise the flag, and if you do not try to harm and hurt another person's feelings, I think we can do that. I think I really wanted to talk about this, not saying that we are elitists, we are good, that this is a model that you should adopt. I'm just saying that this is how we live, because Singapore has got 6 million people, and we drive 1 hour from the east to the west. We stacked up. We're living in high rise apartments, condominiums, and we are just door to door. I mean, during those days of lock-in, we are all locked in our apartments. Everyone was just neck to neck, right? We don't see each other because we are social distancing. But we are in that. But we are all in that 300 households in that building. And can you imagine if someone comes out and they shout, and they do not want to respect the law of keeping social distance or wearing your mask because some people hated it, then we have a problem. So there are people who respect the law, and there are people who respect community responsibility and individual responsibility to your neighbors. And that's how we actually went through the most difficult times, I think, in the history of mankind, particularly in highly populated countries like this. So I just want to share my heart to people who are out there. If your election results doesn't show up the way you wanted it, I think just cool down the temperature, right? I think we should respect the neighbors' choices, and then let's keep your tone free from hurting, harming, or hating other people. I think that's the basic tenet of living together, because Singapore is such a multiracial country. We've got people just jam packed in a little island, and I can't believe we still survive. So that's a little bit to share with everyone, just to please don't go out there and start the fire in the streets. We don't know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to warn, with love, everyone, just calm down. I mean, cool down, chill. That's going to be a tomorrow. So that's a little bit about Singapore. I think Lena's got lots of words to say, but let me just quickly breeze through. Below the link, you can see I put on the link about YouTube, about Singapore, how it looks, how it is. But I really want to talk about Singapore. That Singapore started when we started as a country. We're really a young nation. We are barely 60 years old, not even 60 years old. We're about 59 years old of nation building, that we gained independence. So we struggled as an independent nation, as an island that has no water, because we bought water from our neighbors that can threaten to cut our water. And we bought electricity, energy from surrounding countries, Indonesia, that runs the pipe down undersea to Singapore. And of course, built on our weaknesses, that we do not have petroleum below our ground. We do not have agriculture or trees that we can burn for fuel. We purchase from the neighboring countries that can threaten us. We can't die any moment. So we are surviving a country that's doomed to die right from the beginning, because we had no water, no food, because we have no agriculture. We've got no pig farms, all right? Every piece of land is just populated with human. We've got no fuel meaning no oil, no gas, no nuclear. Um, we've only got something called human people. So based on that one thing of human or people who live on the island, we've got to make it work. When it was a sparse country, can you imagine, like, when we first started, this is just a marsh land. If you look at the history of Singapore, just go Wikipedia and I could send that link again. This is a marshland. And it was overtaken by the Japanese, right? And then during the Second World War, at first, of course, it was the British who came here to take over the land because this is announced as the British colony. But it did good. It did good, some good. And then during the Second World War, this place was bombed. It had nothing, and the British left. So in short, we are left to be alone, right? We've got no resources. We are doomed to die. We've got nothing. So the only thing that we had was dependent on the founding fathers to negotiate with the neighboring countries to give us survival, basic food and water. I would say that food we try to import as much as possible. Water, we could get from neighboring countries. We actually negotiated for every gallon of water at X amount of cents that time and built that pipeline to Singapore. And then we had to negotiate for fuel to have other neighboring countries build a pipeline underneath to come to Singapore. That's where we get power and we get fuel. And because we live on weaknesses, we had nothing. It's a country that has no resources at all. People are doomed to die. We really reinvented ourselves. This is what we call reinvention. We went to, I would say, we as in our forefathers, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew and the whole pioneer group of people, they went to the best countries in the world, like Switzerland, to bring in the best Swiss bank here. They went to the airports of the world to look at how to build the best airports and get the best airlines to build the best facilities in the world here. And they went to America and in UK to bring in the best banks here. That's why we became the financial city in Indo-Pacific. So we built on that. And then we created jobs when there was none. And we created technology to turn air into water. And then we became the highest petroleum refinery in the world. We brought in all the crude oil and we built that facility for all the crude oil to be refined in Singapore and then to be shipped out. So now we have fuel, we have independent fuel, we have independent water because we've got the technology. And then we've got food because we diversify the risk. We bring in the food from wherever. Yes, we got to pay the price because it's expensive. And the people build it up. So I just want to say that this is a country that is a country of survival. I mean, people do compare Singapore to Dubai, but it's not a miracle. And I want to reiterate and say that's why we are the most competitive and burnout people in the world, because we only have a natural resources called the people. And people are not procreating now. So we are importing a lot of people. We've got lots and lots of migrants here, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. One of the survival things that Singapore does in the strategic things that we do are bringing in billionaires in Singapore. So Singapore is known to be safe, to give the best safety for women, for children. You can walk in the streets after 12 midnight without anything and you can still feel safe. You can go to the club, you can take the cab, you will not be mugged. This has the best security in the world, like in Japan, if you think about that. And you could leave your wallet in a restaurant and then find it After 2 hours, the wallet is still there because no one's going to pick up your wallet. No one's going to, like, steal your money. Or that wallet, if someone takes it, it will be returned to the police station. So we've got stories and stories, or hundreds of stories about taxi drivers returning wallets with piles of thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, to the police station, to the hotels where tourists have forgotten their luggage. These are the norms, and these are the culture that we built on. I'm humbly proud to say that I'm in a privileged position. And like what we said earlier on in some of the episodes, that I feel privileged to be born here. I feel privileged that I'm a woman to be born here, because I don't see the kind of racism that is shown on me, or that we try to give out to other people of different colors or different income groups. So I'm just going to rattle off. I just want to give a spectrum to the people out there. I think it's possible to work hard and then to achieve that level of of life that you want, given that kind of social mobility that we talked about earlier on. So some of the people from America, if you're looking at the listeners or the audience, the people of America, the more famous people of America that I've picked up, who have migrated here or are living here right now. Number one, one of them is Ray Dalio. So Ray Dalio has moved his family office. That means he's moved his wealth from America to Singapore. If you look at the picture, click him. You will. If you look at his face, you'll know. He's always there in Bloomberg, in the news, talking about wealth, because he has got one of the highest wealthiest hedge funds in the world. That's called Bridgewater. Real Dalio, he's already here. He's living here, and he's got his Instagram in Singapore. He's always posting things from Singapore. And then you've got another person who is the co-founder of Google, and his name is okay. That's Ray Dalio. Don't think anyone can see him because of the reflection. And then you've got the co-founder of Google, and that's Sergey Brin of Google. He was one of the earliest co-founders of Google. He's already here. He's moved his family office, and of course, they came and they buy up properties and invested heavily in Singapore. He's moved his wealth in Singapore. And then we've also got the other earliest co-founder of Facebook, and that's Edward Severin. Edward Severin is one of the co-founders together with Mark Zuckerberg, and he is quiet. He's still got his shares there, but he's moved out of America. He has become a full-fledged Singaporean, and he has started his investment company called Capital B. Recently, 2 weeks ago, he just donated 20 million to a Singapore school, to the American students, which is a Singapore American school in Singapore. He just donated 20 million. And that's Edward Severin. You hear very little of him, but he's still one of the major shareholders of Facebook, the Meta parent company of Facebook. So I'm just rattling some of this. That's why I am interested in the election of America, because this Singapore is so much like America right now. Everywhere I go, it's just the American brand. Americans are moving here. Not only the Americans, of course, the Brits are moving here, the French are moving here, really because people feel safe here. And I think somehow we kind of like made it in such a way that we respect each other no matter which political side you're at. We made it not an issue. So, in this heated times that is so, I should say, we're in such a precarious situation. You're just at the knife's edge in America and in the world. Even the world is divided. There are people who ask me, Vicky, are you for Trump or for Harris, Kamala? I just say, I'm not here to vote. I have no power. And I say, whomever is there, we got to watch the action, not what they say. So I'm going to leave at that. So again, I feel a life of privilege being here. That's why I devote my podcast and the work that I do in trying to speak up for the Main Street. And these are the issues that Main Street are facing, about jobs, about economy, about family, about some of the things that is facing humanity. I would like to dedicate my platform to these issues about humanity. So yeah, that's about it. Quickly, do I have time to talk
No,
about?
you
Yeah,
don't.
I think we are like
We're running
over
out of
time for
time.
45 minutes. So over to you, Lillian. Thank you so much for the patience, Lillian.
Oh, you're welcome. We're on a time limit. Most podcasts kind of wander and wander and wander, but we give ourselves 35 to 45 minutes, and then it's enough because you can get too much information in all at one time. I have a couple of things to say. One is I was watching a movie last night, and it didn't occur to me what the movie was about until I started linking some key names together. But the upshot from what I found interesting in the movie was that a father and son was arguing about religion. And the father believed that this new religion that had entered his family was the work of the devil. And he was dictating his beliefs and faith to his wife and his son. His son, I guess, was supposed to be around 17, 18. And one of the things he said struck me forcefully. And it's something that we in the United States and other countries that give freedom of religion to their citizens, they never give it a second thought. So think about this today while you go and vote. Your grandfather, the child at 18, said to his father, fought in the American Revolutionary War for the freedom to choose their own religious faith and belief. I mean, if you believe the stories of the pilgrims coming to this new world, that's the whole reason why they came. They're one of the few that didn't come for a land grab. They basically wanted the right to worship their God their way without being dictated to by the government, no matter what kind of government it was. And this young man was reminding his father that although his faith is important to him, it is his belief for him that it works. It may not work for him or for his mother or for his sisters. And did his father have the right to control and dictate to them what they should believe in? And it was interesting seeing this resolute man who was determined in his faith. And I gather he was a Protestant. They don't say much on religion in movies unless it's a conclave, and that's a fish of another color, as they would say. And the son was reminding him the whole reason why they were in this country in the first place, or they were given, and I'm not going to say God given because it isn't, it's a man given right to worship how they want. So if they didn't want to go to church and rot in there for 10 hours, they didn't have to. And if they wanted to believe in what they wanted to believe, that was fine as long as they did not hurt, malign, injure, sodomize, rape. They stayed within the law, or what I call the 10 Commandments, which pretty much lays out everything, folks. No mistaking. It pretty much lays out everything. And so you need to remember that everybody has a right to vote for whoever they want, whether you agree or disagree. It does not give you the right to denigrate somebody, humiliate them, shame them, the way a certain presidential candidate did last night to Michelle Obama. It doesn't give you that right. You may think because you're powerful and wealthier than God that it does, but it does not. And for you to copycat what you see a powerful man does not make you powerful. It strips you of who you are as a human being. Yes, this is my opinion. Suck it up, Buttercup. Until further notice, I still have the freedom of speech. And I will still say what is on my mind, whether you agree with me or not. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'd be very upset if too many people did, because that make me rather suspicious as to what they want from me. And I'm not in a position to grant favors or give away large, expensive gifts. Certainly, I'm not Musk, who can give away $1 million to vote for a certain candidate. Sorry, if you're resorting to that, your candidate must be pretty sad indeed. Number two, this country also had the luxury of boasting that a person can walk out after midnight and not be attacked. Sadly, that is not true anymore. They are warning you, the authorities, to be careful. People are allowed to bring their concealed weapons with them into the voting booths. So you do not know who is packing a gun in their waistband, pocket, hip pocket, coat jacket, or purse, or attaché case. So be mindful that there are nuts all over the place who justify their actions because they're right and everybody's wrong. So just remember, what you're really doing is you're walking in the parking lot, going to your car, and you should have your keys already out, and your senses should be on high alert. I am sorry. That is the situation for today, and it'll probably be the situation until things calm down and people are brought back to their senses. And maybe they won't. They had a term during the Revolutionary War about people who kept on changing sides for whoever was winning. First cousin of George Washington, his name was Joseph Reed. And he was called a tacker, T-A-C-K-E-R. Why? Because one day he was loyal and true to Cousin George, but the next day he was blue and true to King George. It just depended who was winning at that particular time. So be very careful. Like the sails of a sailboat, it goes with which way the wind is blowing. Number three, when you turn on your set to listen to the news tonight, that doesn't give you the right to get drunk or to say hateful things on your social media or say and put into action hateful actions. That's not what freedom is, because with freedom comes accountability and responsibility. So I just want you to be mindful of this. So that gives me 2 more minutes to wrap up. Thank you very much for joining us today. Next Monday, everything should be over. And if we're lucky, the United States will not be in a civil war between the Republicans and the Democrats. And also a physical civil war between citizens, those who back Mr. Trump and those who think he's a dangerous person. I will not say any more on that. However, you can catch this all over again on youtube.com/about, that little A, at Passionate World Radio. Also on our website, https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. Scroll down till you come to State of Current Affairs. Click on it. The link is Google. Click on that. That takes you into the belly of the beast, and you can see the state of current affairs. If you wish to let us know what you think of the program or want to appear on the program, PWR Network LLC gmail.com. Your name, phone number, good time to call. I'll have your email, but put it down there anyway. Or you can text us at 484-364-1032. As you know, this show is sponsored by 3 companies. One is a publishing company in Singapore. Go tell your story. Everybody is eager to hear it. So contact us at 484-364-1032. Give us your name, your email, or your number. Good time to call. And tell us, yes, I want to get my experiences, my memoir out to the world because I lived life to the fullest. Also by education.passionworldtalkradio.com. The obstacles of podcast training, anybody from 9 all the way up to 99, everything in between. 2 months, 1 hour a day, interactive, 2 people for the price of 1, because you really need a partner when you do this. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out on the streets that would love to give someone a piece of their mind, or maybe a partial of their mind. And then the third company is, of course, myflex.com. So go over to http:// with Lillian. Make sure you spell it out, LILLIAN.com. And take a look, take the demo, sign up. Isn't that expensive? I understand it's just as expensive as chat. PDG, I understand, at $20 a month. And of course, you can gradually work your way up. And you get a lot more than what you get with chat GPD. Guaranteed. It's a no-brainer. Besides, Mark Cuban supports it 2,000% AI. And we all know how wealthy Mr. Cuban is. So thank you very much for joining us. You can find us all over 30 different platforms. Just Google us. We're on the first 25 pages. It's really difficult to miss us. Passionate World Talk Radio. Thank you very much. Have a great week. See you next week.